All right, thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central, here on News Central, and we are indeed bringing to you one of the favorite segments here known as This is Good News. I'm Joe Hansen, and last week we did talk about what one of the NGOs are indeed doing. Unfortunately, we couldn't get you that interview due to some technical issues, but today we can rightly say that we do have the guest who's joining us here live this morning. Education, they say, is the best legacy that can be given to any child, but Nigeria is currently faced with an alarming increase in the number of out-of children wandering on the streets, which is making this legacy staggering. Now, according to a publication by the International Center for Investigative Reporting, we did tell you earlier on, and we're telling you again, that 60% of about 20 million out-of-school children in Nigeria are girls, and globally there are 118.5 million girls out of school. As we speak, Nigeria is currently ranked third highest number of children deprived of education, according to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO 2020 model estimates. Now, with the current global recession and the alarming number of out-of children in Nigeria, Ove Brume Foundation took it upon itself to help the less privileged children get quality education and empowerment. I'm being joined by Nana Kalu, an alumni and former head of programs of a Brume Foundation. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
All right, let's go straight into it. First of all, let's talk about what you are doing. We did mention last week, and like we rightly said, due to some technicalities, we didn't really get the clarity on what Ove Brume does in helping children who are not in school. Would you like to expatiate on that?
Yes, so a lot of children are currently disenfranchised. They have little or no access to quality education, primarily because, from their background, they might not have the means to afford it. And so for NGOs like the Ove Brume Foundation, there's always an interesting conversation to talk about how we can offset that gap that exists, how we can try to bridge it and provide the necessary support for young children to access quality education. So that's what we're currently doing. As the former head of programs, I was tasked with primarily ensuring that there's a structure in place so that people who are out of school, people who are on the streets can have access to the scholarship called Project No Excuse. The idea is that no child should have any excuse to not get quality education.
No child should have any excuse of not having quality education. But let's also look at the fact that there's some challenges that you may face in trying to help these underprivileged children get quality education. What are some of these challenges?
Well, a few challenges. One is the access to funds, because to ensure that you offset this gap, it's always important to have a good repository of funds so that you can always ensure that there is a continuity in assisting this young people. So one of the challenges is ensuring that we get a large pool of sponsors that can, put in money and say, let's help young people get off the streets. So we try to increase the pool. We try to make sure that we reach a lot of private stakeholders to ensure that, we get the funds we need. Secondly is sometimes when we streamline these people from the streets, they come in and then at the end of the day, they want to go back to the streets. They don't want to get education. So what we usually do is that we put them through an interesting rehabilitation program, ensure that we mentor them before they get access to that scholarship.
We also know that NGOs are not partisan with government, but as an NGO specialist that you are, how do you see the approval of student loans by Nigeria's, the new president and the likes, and most importantly, is it a welcome development for NGOs, especially? Will it make your job easier?
Absolutely. I think it's an interesting development. However, I think that it's too early to call the shots to say how much this will impact the educational sector, primarily because of the sustainability impact of that bill. So it will be interesting to see how it is implemented because a lot of young people who have gone to school and are out of school have little or no access to jobs. So it's interesting to see how we bridge that gap. However, I can say that if young people are supported, giving loans to go to school, then that automatically means that you have less people out of the streets to access quality education.
All right, let's go to the major one. How do you get funds to actually help these students?
Well, we have like a two-way structure which we use to raise funds. First is that we try to identify companies and organizations that have the same corporate social responsibility with what we do. So companies who are interested in education, companies who are interested in ensuring that young people can get access to quality education. When we identify them, we pitch to them and send them an interesting proposal that lets them understand how their funds will be utilized properly, but also how they can join the train of impacting the next generation of change makers. So when we do that, we usually get feedback because first they identify with the mission, which is ensuring quality education, and secondly, they want to impact change. And then the second one is most times we try to ensure that we have an open communication so that people can reach us. And that has been really very helpful as we use like online platforms that ensure that people can always donate to us when they identify with our story. So we're also pretty focused on the brand story, ensuring that people understand what the story of young people is out there.
All right, that's very interesting. But let's quickly wrap things up with this final question. NGOs providing funds for these individuals, taking them off the streets. Would you rightly say it has been successful, and what's the way forward, especially from now?
Thank you for that very good question. So I think we've gotten a major level of success. However, it's alarming that there are still lots of young people on the street. So the work is still there, it exists. And so that's why NGOs do not exist in isolation. Most of our programs is we ensure that we do some level of partnership because we think that the collective effort most times ensures the best results. And going into the future, more NGOs are going to come up because now you are seeing a huge influx in the NGO market. More international NGOs are coming to Nigeria because they've identified that there's a real need to solve. So it will be interesting to see in the next few years how the NGO sector is and how they improve the social ecosystem of the country.
Well, this is truly good news. Thank you so much, Nana Kalu, for joining us. We truly appreciate the work you are doing with the NGO and, of course, the many more NGOs that you'll be either working for, consulting for. And hopefully we do well to get the children off the streets. The numbers are quite alarming, and we hope that this will change subsequently.
Thank you so much.
All right. So there you have it. That's good news that we have for you on a Monday morning. Like we say, every Monday morning we try to ensure that you get a piece of good news. A dose wouldn't hurt at all. If you've got any good news, any corporate organization, individuals, people, persons that are doing remarkable things, helping the society, humanity, or better still, looking to make a change, especially with the narratives, feel free to send an email to us, or better still, you can reach us on our social media platforms. You have the social media handle there on the screen, and we look forward to invite you so you can come on board and tell us the wonderful things that you are doing. It's back to Olive and Osaugie.